What is up, everyone? TCT here again. I want to apologize for the lack of content during this crisis we have here in 2020. I can't mention what the crisis is because the way YouTube videos are getting taken down for even mentioning it. Yeah, it's not going to happen here, but I hope everyone's staying safe and staying healthy. And today I want to do something a little bit different. Many people have asked me to release some content, so I figured a fun way to do that was to do some audio content with not too much video, so that I don't have to do a lot in the editing software. I can just go ahead and talk to you guys. So that's going to be fun for me to do. I can release a lot of content this way. It's all I got to do is just upload some audio of me talking to you, which to me that's very easy to upload some content, and most of you would be able to listen to what I have to say if you're interested. So today, what I want to do is give a top 5 of my favorite movies of all time. People have been asking me for years, my friends, my family, people have been messaging me, what are your favorite movies of all time? Now, I don't want to give a top 10 because I think that's a little lackluster. Anybody can throw something into a top 10, but a top 5 is really tough to do. And I have some movies that people that know me know that I love, and people that know me have no idea that I am a huge fan of these movies. So let's go ahead and get right into that. Number 5 is probably one that everybody knows about. Came out in 2009. It is James Cameron's Avatar. And the reason for this, a lot of people say this movie's overrated. I don't think so. When it came out, the 3D, the special effects, everything was spectacular in this movie. Sam Worthington did one heck of a job playing Jake Sully. Basically, a guy with no legs that had his legs blown off in Venezuela. War down in Venezuela. Sent all the way across the galaxy to a new planet where humans are trying to find a new home. But basically, they're stealing oil. They're doing what they do over here. They're over there just to steal things. And they're given these avatars, through a computer brain simulation where they lay into a kind of like a cockpit type bed, and they hook themselves up to this alien that they can control with their mind. And when this guy who's paralyzed finds out that, hey, I can walk again, nothing stops him, So he gets captured by the village people. They train him to be one of them. And the humans are like, hey, we could use this to our advantage. Possibly get them to move so that we can steal their home and blow it up and, steal everything that's underneath of it. Like, I forgot what it's called. It's like, it's kind of like an oil thing, or I don't know what it is. It's something very valuable underneath. So at first he does it, just because they ask him to. And then he starts to fall in love with Pandora. He starts to fall in love with the planet. And then Nateri, the chief's daughter, starts to fall in love with him. So he's kind of like, look, I cannot let the humans do to this beautiful planet what we have done to our Earth our entire existence. Basically, we were put on this Earth to screw stuff up, and it's not going to happen here. That's pretty much what that story is about. The 3D, the graphic, everything was amazing for its time. Even today, it's still incredible. I mean, of course, you can tell most of it's fake, but it's still incredible. The score done by James Horner, amazing. James Horner, rest in peace. You had a definite tragedy when you crashed your plane into the ground out into your backyard. I mean, that was just a sad story, and I didn't even know about it until I went and saw it in the movie Southpaw. At the end of Southpaw, it says, in memory of our friend James Horner. I'm like, oh, wow, what happened to James Horner? Well, he died, and I didn't know until I saw Southpaw, and I was like, wow. So, yeah, one of the greatest composers of all time had a plane crash, for those who didn't know. So that was pretty sad, but Sigourney Weaver was in the movie. She is excellent in this movie. She plays the doctor, the one that helps them through all this stuff. It's a great film, man. For anyone that wants to talk movies that has never seen this movie, that's a must watch, especially with 2 and 3 coming out simultaneously. They have been saying, hey, this movie's coming out. They've been saying that for years now, but James Cameron's just working on them very slowly, which I can appreciate. At least I know we're going to get some good movies, if not some fun movies. So, yeah, besides the point, Avatar, my number 5. Now, let's get into my number 4. It is another James Cameron movie, and people are going to look at me like, really? This is your number 4 movie? And I'm going to tell you, there's a reason for it, because when I was a kid, this was probably the biggest movie ever. And there was something for everybody in this movie. Many of you are going to know what it is. It is one of the longest run times ever. It is James Cameron's Titanic. Now, I know what you're going to say. They're like, oh, wow, you love a girly film. Titanic's not just, it's not a girly film at all. For those who think it's a girly film, you have no idea what filmmaking really is. This movie was like a $200 million budget just to build the set. Cameron knew he was going to make $1 billion at the box office. There's no way he didn't know, which is why he spent so much on the set. The reason I love this movie is like the Jack and Rose thing, the Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet thing, that's probably the big thing about it. All the girls and people that love romance, it's like one of their favorite movies. Yeah, it's a wonderful story, about a romance on the ill-fated Titanic. We all know the Titanic sinks. So James Cameron's like, well, how do I do this when everybody knows the ending? Let me throw a powerful story on there. And it was a pretty powerful story. Rich girl meets poor boy, classic storyline from old school films. I mean, yeah. It was definitely a worst case scenario situation in which he had to decide. It's like, okay, am I going to do a love story? Or am I just going to do a sinking movie? He did both. Amazing. It was an amazing film. Now, I didn't go see it in the theaters because I was too small. But from day one, when they released it at Blockbuster, I begged my mom, like, can we just buy this? Because we were in Blockbuster that day anyway. I think it was like a Friday or a Saturday. I was like, can we just buy this? And it was on a double cassette tape, VHS tape. For those who don't know what a VCR is we didn't have DVD back then in 1996, 97 yet. DVD would be 2 years later. But she bought the double tape. Now, on the first tape, it would go all the way up to where Thomas Andrews would tell the captain that Titanic will sink. And then I remember the last line. The last line was, I believe you'll get your headlines, Mr. Ismay, and then the tape would cut off. And then it would pick right back up on tape number 2 where Billy Zane, an amazing cast choice, by the way. Billy Zane slaps Kate Winslet, for, cheating. That's basically where, the movies would split on the videotape. Which, that was kind of a genius thing. You did the whole romance part in the first act, and then you did the whole sinking part in the second act, which was, kind of crazy. But the reason why I love this film is because it is spectacularly done, in the sinking scenes. Like when they show the sinking scenes, which have now changed, by the way, if many people don't know that, the way it sinks in the movie is no longer the case. A few years ago, James Cameron went back down and he found some new holes to plug into his simulation, and Cameron decided, well, I want to do a new simulation with these holes. So basically what you see at the end where the ship goes straight up and then goes down into the water, it doesn't happen like that anymore. It breaks, it kind of turns to its side, and then as it's starting to sink sideways, right before it goes under, it goes straight up. Which, you can see that on YouTube or anywhere, basically. And it's kind of interesting because every time you watch the movie now, after you see that, you're like, well, this is a little bit inaccurate now. But it still looks really terrifying because in 1996, this is what they thought happened. And who knows? It could have happened this way. He might be wrong. I don't think he is. I think the man's a genius. But just the end. That's one of the most epic ends to a movie right there. Watching that big boat set go down. I mean, he does some great modeling work. He does some great set work. It was a great casting. For that film, and it was the highest grossing film of all time for about 15 years before his other movie Avatar came and destroyed it. In which now even Avatar is not even the top movie of all time. Avengers Endgame is, which everyone knew that was going to happen. But I think when Avatar 2 comes out, it's going to bust it. I mean, we'll see. But I did go see the re-release of Titanic in 3D when they did the 100-year anniversary back in 2012. And the sinking scenes were amazing. Another great composed movie by James Horner. Many people don't know James Horner, man. Like, James Horner was way ahead of his time. I bet you didn't know that he composed My Heart Will Go On. Everybody's like, no, Celine Dion did. No, she performed it. James Cameron hire James Horner to come up with a piece, that would be the symbolic movie of, a symbolic song of the movie. And Horner came up with My Heart Will Go On, and Celine Dion sung it, but he came up with the composition for it. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that at all. And that is something I can definitely appreciate, is when a movie composer actually creates the lead song on his soundtrack, and it's performed by a Grammy Award winner. It's really great. So anyway, Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, Billy Zane, great trio. Billy Zane, I knew him from The Phantom, and Back to the Future. He was a small role in Back to the Future. A lot of people don't know that he's one of Biff's goons in those Back to the Future movies. But man, was he great in The Phantom. And then I seen him in Titanic, and that to me, that's still his best role to this day, is Kaladin Hockley in Titanic. And Leonardo DiCaprio, he's had an amazing career. Kate Winslet's had an amazing career. Everybody in that movie. By the way, the late great Bill Paxton, who plays John Lovett. I think that's his name, John Lovett, the guy that's looking for the stone that Old Rose tells the story to. The late great Bill Paxton, from Twister, from Aliens. He even played in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before he passed. Come on, that guy is just a legend. We're all gonna miss him. He was a great actor. But yeah, Titanic, my number 4. Now, before I get into number 3, I want you to also talk about my number 4 and number 5. I want you to leave your comments below what you think of those. Well, when I get into number 3, it's going to be a little controversial. But when I was a kid, my stepfather took me to see this movie. It was in the year 2000, and it was, I think it won Best Picture. I cannot remember if it did. It definitely won Best Actor, and in a couple roles. But I think it won Best Picture of the year 2000. It stars Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. It is Gladiator. Number 3 is Gladiator. Now, let me just get this right out of the way. Yes, my number 3 is Gladiator, because when I was a kid, I was 7 years old when this movie came out, and I saw one of the most incredible things in this movie. I saw some action. I saw people getting beheaded. I saw all kinds of stuff at that age, and I'm like, wow, my mind is like flying around this movie theater right now, which was cool to me. But how can you not love a king murdered by his son because he won't give kingship, because the kingdom was left to his most loyal soldier, and his son also goes after the soldier and his family, and the soldier becomes a slave. That's basically the story of Gladiator. Russell Crowe to me, it's still his best role. He did a fantastic job. Joaquin Phoenix, who's known for, right now, he's known for the Joker, which when I found out he was going to play the Joker, I was like, man, this is a great choice. Now, the Joker is really controversial. Some people hate it. Some people love it. I thought it was a great movie, as a standalone. It was a great movie to look at psychology. It's not really a superhero or kind of a comic book movie. It's more of, hey, one bad day can actually do this to somebody, which, that's what the movie was about, which I could definitely appreciate that they went that route, because it's a standalone. You can watch it anytime now and not worry about it being connected to anything. But beside the point, I've always been a fan of Joaquin Phoenix. He did Signs, he did The Village, he did Gladiator, now he's done Joker. He especially when he played in Walk the Line as Johnny Cash. Oh my God, man! For those of you who don't know, Johnny Cash is my favorite singer of all time. He's fantastic. He's phenomenal. And I went and saw that movie in 2005 when I was in middle school. And man, he just knocked it out of the park. He got screwed out of an Oscar too. Let's just put it that way. If Reese Witherspoon could win an Oscar for that, why couldn't he? I mean, I don't know. Black Hawk Down just ripped that movie apart, and I do not like that at all. But beside the point, he played young Caesar in this movie, and it has some of the greatest moments. Now, let me get into one greatest moment. Have you ever heard someone like raise their arms into the pose and yell, "Are you not entertained?" That comes from Gladiator, where he walks into one of these gladiator pits and just destroys everybody and just throws the sword down, looks at everybody, and yells, "Are you not entertained? Is this not what you came for?" Great moment. But my favorite moment of the movie, and I think it's most people's, is when he goes to the Coliseum for the first time to perform in front of, Caesar, knowing that he's there in the crowd. He murdered his family, but he's a slave now. He's a gladiator. They call him the Spaniard. And when they win, Joaquin Phoenix is like, well, I think I'll meet this guy. And so he goes down there, and Russell Crowe knows, hey, I'm going to kill this dude. And I can't let him know that it's me, though. And he's like, remove your helmet and tell me your name, sir. He goes, my name is Gladiator. He goes, how dare you turn your back to me? I said, remove your helmet and tell me your name. And when Russell Crowe turns around and removes his helmet, I remember the whole scene. He goes, my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. The theater erupted. Joaquin Phoenix was as white as a ghost. And he ordered his men to get ready to kill Maximus right there where he stood. And the crowd was like, live, 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 live. So Joaquin put his thumb out, and everybody thought he was going to put the thumbs down. And then he ended up raising it because he knows if he kills Maximus right there, that he'll never have the trust of the people. He would never have the trust of the people. And that is one thing he definitely needs, is the trust of the people. So, they get into these epic battles. Caesar starts throwing Maximus into these no-win situations, and Maximus keeps coming through until they have to fight at the end. And friggin' Caesar has him chained up and just go ahead and stabs him before their fight. It's like, come on, man. And Caesar still loses. Maximus gets him in the throat. And then he has one of the best death scenes in all of cinema. In my book, it's a beautiful death scene. I don't want to give too much away for those who haven't seen it, but yeah, the reason why, by the way, Hans Zimmer, amazing score, amazing score by Hans Zimmer. It's beautiful. It's, and I think it's Hans Zimmer. I could be wrong, but it sounds like his track. Great score. Amazing movie. Definitely deserving of my number 3. Now, when I get into 1 and 2, a lot of people who know me know these are my favorite films. But for those who don't know me, I'm going to give you the reasons why. Number 2, it is a movie that I grew up loving, that when I first saw it for the first time, I was lost. Like, you could not snap me out of the trance I was in. This movie is First Blood. Now, I know what many of you are going to say. What is First Blood? Okay, I'm going to put it in another term. Rambo, First Blood. Oh, First Blood's Rambo. Yeah, no crap. The first movie is called First Blood, and it's the best Rambo. It's still the best Rambo to this day. He's done 5 Rambos so far. All of them are good, And First Blood is just, the soldiers got treated with such disrespect as they came back from Vietnam. He's just walking through town, stops in the diner. Hey, can I get something to eat and I'll be on my way? No, we don't serve pigs. We don't serve baby killers. It's like, come on, man. Just give the guy something to eat. Nope, sheriff comes. It's like, if I ever see you around town again, I'll kill you. Doesn't sit well with Rambo. He walks back in there, and then sheriff's like, all right, you're going to jail. It's like, for what? I'm just walking. I want something to eat. They take him to the jail. And I hate when cops act like this. They take him to the jail, and they torture him. They spray him with the hose. And come on, man. It's like, what did he do wrong? Well, then we have one of the greatest breakout scenes in cinema history. Stallone is going through PTSD because he's a Green Beret. And man, does he mess that police station up. He runs into the woods, has one heck of a motorcycle chase with cops. He runs into the woods, and we get one of the most epic scenes where the sheriff and his men, they have dogs and everything, are going through the woods. And Stallone he's back in Vietnam. Rambo is in camouflage. He's taking these men out one by one. It's a storm coming. Beautiful sequence, man. It's a storm coming. It's lightning. There's no music at all. Like that's the beauty of it. You just hear the thunder, the lightning, the psh. It's such a great film. So he's taking these guys apart, and every one of them disappearing one by one. The sheriff's like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And everything's going silent. And then all of a sudden Rambo just comes out and takes his army knife and has it right at the throat of the sheriff. He goes, I could have killed you. I could have killed them all. In town, you're the law. Out here, I'm the law. Don't push it. Leave me alone. Don't push it. And then he lets them go. And he lets all of them go. And I'm sitting there like, oh, if I was you, I'd let him go. Of course, the sheriff's stubborn. You know, he even admits he admitted to the general that came in to get him. He's like, I wanted to kill that kid. You know, it's crazy, man. But does Stallone deserve an Oscar for the final scene of that movie where he's up in the police station, man? And, you know, his general was like, Rambo, stop, it's over. He goes, nothing is over. You don't just turn it off. Like, I don't even want to go into it because doing it just makes me emotional, you know. He's like, we come home and people treat us like that, and men go out there and they die, and oh my God, like, just, you know, you can feel the emotion coming off a Vietnam veteran. I mean, it's incredible, and the way it ends with him just walking out into the street, there's people with cameras, and he's just walking out in handcuffs, and he looks over at the sheriff. He's like, dude, you should have never crossed me. Like, the sheriff lives, but he's like, you should have never crossed me. Man, what a movie. Sylvester Stallone, for years, has gotten no respect from Hollywood. But let me tell you this guy has massive respect for Sylvester Stallone, and which is why Rambo First Blood is my number 2. Now, let me get into my number 1. I'm going to get into my number 1, and before you say anything, it is another Sylvester Stallone movie, probably the greatest movie he's ever done. And it is the movie that made him famous. I am talking about Rocky. The entire Rocky franchise is probably my favorite movie franchise. It's basically my whole family's favorite movie franchise. My mom loves it. My stepfather loves it. I love it. Any Rocky film, you know, even Rocky 5. I enjoy Rocky 5. It's probably my least favorite one out of all of them, but Rocky is my favorite one, the first Rocky, because it is amazing. Like, when you watch it, this movie was made with $1 million. And it relies so heavily on the story because they didn't have permits to film in half the places they go. It's just Stallone getting out of a van and them shooting him for like 30 seconds in most of these scenes before the cops come and tell him, hey, you can't do that here. You know, so he's using all of Philadelphia that he can. And when he's running down the street in this movie training, like, he doesn't have permits to be there. He's just running in the middle of the city, you know, shooting, you know, which is crazy. But to think that this man, Sylvester Stallone, wrote a movie about his life, but he is Rocky. You know, he was so broke that he had to sell his dog during production. You know, and it's absolutely insane. So you have Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, Burt Young, Carl Weathers, even Burgess Meredith. People don't know who Burgess Meredith is. He's Penguin in Adam West's Batman. Let me just go there. Great cast, man, and they all knocked it out of the park. You know, Rocky, this leg breaker, this bum from the neighborhood, 30 years old, doesn't have a great sense of how to fight. You know, he's lost a bunch of fights, he's won a bunch of fights. Basically, every time he fights, he's fighting for $40. You know, if he loses, he gets only like 15 or $12. You know, like, and it explains it very good with the first fight with Spider Rico. I'll never forget the first day I saw this movie. I was coming home. It was 1999. I was coming home from my Little League baseball practice, and I was sitting there watching ABC Family. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, my practice was over. It was either practice or a game. I think it was a game. It might have been a game. And I sit down, I'm watching HBO Family, and it goes, up next, Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. And my mom, who's making a sandwich, she's like, oh, Rocky's coming on. That's one of my favorite movies, Travis. And I'm like, well, what's Rocky? She says, well, sit there and watch it. So I do. You know, they're showing the whole marathon, and then it was Rocky 1 through 5. They didn't have Balboa or Creed yet. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and from the opening scene, the dun 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 dun, I'm already engaged. The music got me. And then you see these two guys. They're just boxing, you know, in a club. And when Rocky wins, he walks out of there. I'll never forget the first line from one of these guys. hey, Rocky, you're a bum. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He just won the fight. That's how rough it was. That's how rough it was back in those days. And it was genius, writing from Stallone, man. The Bill Conti's amazing Gonna Fly score. Like, dude, like this entire movie was just perfection. And it won Best Picture. I think it was 76. It won Best Picture. And had the most anticipated rematch in the history of cinema. Rocky Balboa versus Apollo Creed, and it was a genius move to take someone from the neighborhood, an unknown, and give him a shot at the world's biggest title. And I love the response of Rocky. Just when the guy's like, "Would you be interested in fighting Apollo Creed for the World Heavyweight Championship?" His immediate response is no. And the guy's like, "Why?" He's like, this guy, he's the best. It wouldn't be such a very good fight. I'm not a great fighter. I'm more of a sparrer. And dude's like, do you believe the America is the land of opportunity? He goes, yeah. He goes, Apollo Creed does, and he's gonna prove it to the entire world by giving an unknown a shot at the title, and that unknown is you, Rocky. And I'm like, wow. That movie had me engaged from that point on. And then, oh man, Burt Young playing Paulie, the scene where he comes in there and just starts smashing stuff with the baseball bat, because he's drunk. And it's like, man, but he's letting out all his emotions. He's like, Rocky, it's basically like, I love the both of you, but you betrayed me. I'm no one. Like, and here you are getting ready to make all this money. You can't even throw a crumb to me. Like, screw you guys. It's like, dude, like it's so reminiscent of the times back in the 70s. It's crazy. Like when he tries to kick Rocky out, Rocky's like, it's cold outside, Paulie, because I'm guessing Rocky doesn't have heat in his apartment, which is why he's over there with Adrian. It's like, man, like you got to put all that in play, And then Carl Weathers, amazing as Apollo Creed. He's basically Muhammad Ali in this movie, trash talking, not taking Rocky too seriously until he gets knocked out in the first round. Well, he doesn't get knocked out, but he gets he gets knocked cold for a few minutes, and he gets up. He's like, "What hit me?" It's a great movie, man. And then the epic ending where he says, "Ain't gonna be no rematch," and Rocky's like, "Don't want one," and we're like, "Yeah, right." The rematch comes, and that's to me the rematch is the best fight in the whole franchise. But other than Rocky 4 was amazing, but. Yeah, for those of you who have not seen the Rocky franchise, you have no idea what you're missing. Go on Amazon and buy the 40th anniversary edition, for the love of God, and sit there and watch it. I have cousins that I bought it for that still haven't watched it, and I'm like, guys, you have no idea what you're missing. Like, there's cousins that I have that work out. There's people that I know that work out, and it's like, how have you not seen this movie? This movie will inspire you to run so much faster on the treadmill when the music starts to play. I'm telling you, man, this is an epic film. The franchise itself is epic. It involves kids, it involves tragedy, it involves loss, it involves race, it involves being broke, being rich, losing yourself to money. It involves, being sinister and evil, and it's so good, man. It involves, hey, even though I'm rich, I need to fight because I don't know what else to do. Like, the Creed movies bring that to heart. And it's like, it's about personal business. It's about, oh man, it's about romance. It's such a good franchise. It's one of the greatest franchises ever told. And I get into arguments with people. They're like, oh no, Star Wars is. I'm like, do you know I love Star Wars, but do you know how many bad Star Wars movies there are? There's quite a few. There is not one bad Rocky movie. People are going to argue with me saying, hey, Rocky 5 is a bad movie. Not really. Like, if you watch it today, back then it was bad, for a Rocky film, because we were used to a certain standard. If you watch it today, it is a timeless classic with Tommy Morrison. Tommy Morrison makes that movie a classic. The street fight at the end of the movie makes that movie a classic. Yeah, all this crazy stuff in the middle of him going broke, having brain damage. It's not the greatest story in the world, but it's still better than half of the movies coming out today. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, yeah, it has some weak moments, but it's not a bad film by any means, man. I can sit there and watch Rocky 5 all the time if I want to. I just choose not to because it's not my favorite Rocky. It's my least favorite Rocky because I mean, Tommy Morrison's great as Tommy Gunn, but come on, I just don't. Me personally, I don't like the story of him going broke and back to the neighborhood having brain damage. I'm not a big fan of that type of story. But it's not that the movie's bad or anything, you know. It's about, but the whole movie is about betrayal, and they do it really well. But the reason why it doesn't flow is it wasn't written by Sylvester Stallone. It wasn't directed by Sylvester Stallone. You know, they kind of screwed him over there. But let me tell you the story about when Rocky Balboa came out in 2006. In 2005, I was in middle school. I was just starting middle school. And no, actually, I was in the middle of middle school. I was getting ready to go to high school. And I'm online and I see Sylvester Stallone behind a film camera. And I'm like, this guy's in his 60s. What's going on? And it says he's filming Rocky Balboa. And I'm like, Rocky Balboa? Is that like Rocky 6? So I'm clicking on it and I'm like, Mom, get in here. She's a huge fan of Rocky. You know, we go watch all the Creed movies together, you know. So I'm like, Mom, look at this. And she's like, oh, what's Stallone doing? I'm like, he's making another Rocky. She's like, no way, he's too old to do that. Come to find out, that's exactly what the story was. It's like, this dude's crazy for getting back into the ring. He's 60-something years old. He doesn't need to get back into the ring. He's like, well, I got to go out the way I got to go out. Great film, man. Great film. Not the best Rocky movie ever, but it brought everybody back to that nostalgia. It came out in December of 2006. I won't forget it. It was a school night. I begged my mom. I was like, Mom, it starts on a Wednesday night. I know that. I have school tomorrow, but can we please go see this? It's only an hour and 50 minutes long. She's like, you know what? Because it's Rocky, we'll both go. We went and we enjoyed it. There was nobody in the theater because it was a Wednesday night. It was just true Rocky fans. Everybody that was in there was a Rocky fan. And man, it's not the greatest movie in the world, but it made me really feel bad for Stallone because this is how his life's turned out. People are telling him, hey, you're too old. You can't really do much anymore. Look at him. Those of you, look at Sylvester Stallone today in his 70s. That man is jacked. That man is jacked. You know, look at the picture of him with the tattoos and holding chains. That man is jacked. He will still mess you up. Sylvester Stallone has all the respect from me in the world. This is a guy that's got no respect from Hollywood for decades. He's written 2 franchises, amazing franchise. He's written the Rambo franchise or the Rocky franchise. You know, he's done some stinkers every now and then. Every movie star does, you know. But I respect everything that he does, man. Like, that man will always have my respect for all time. You know, in Hollywood. So, yeah, my number 1 favorite movie of all time is Rocky. You know, so those of you who want to give me your top 5, go ahead and put them in the comments down below. And I am really glad to be talking to you guys again. I'm going to try to do a lot more of these audio clips and see where I go from there. I want everyone to know just what I'm doing and things. You know, I can't really film much, you know, especially with work. Eventually I'm going to make some videos once everything starts to reopen. I'm going to make some videos and we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I hope everyone's staying safe. This is TCT signing off. I've enjoyed talking with you for this last half an hour. So hopefully the next time we do this, it can be a lot longer. So TCT signing off. I'll talk to you next time, guys. Thank you for listening to my top 5. I really appreciate it.